Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We are back after a hiatus on the Sports with Sadaji podcast because Mr. Aniket Mohan here was partying in Pune. But we are,
I was still on a high after Lewis's Silverstone win, so do not blame me. I'm still riding that one victory we
yeah,
had this season, which I did not expect. So yeah.
yeah, bro became so crazy after Lewis's win that he forgot to come for the podcast. But anyway,
I
uh,
thought the season was over and Lewis won the championship based on one race.
yeah, and to recap, guys, so much has happened in the last couple of weeks in the world of F1, right? If you just, the season has really been cracked open at this point, right? If we start from Austria, right, where I don't remember who won. I think George Russell. Yeah, George Russell won the race, right? And Max and Lando had a brilliant fight, right? And then Max kind of pushed Lando too much, uh, and yeah, Lando basically bumped into Max, boink, and DNF, and Max, punctured his tire, went to P5. But so much has happened post that. I mean, and then Silverstone again, Max was what, P2? Lewis won the race, but Max was P2. And you thought, oh, yeah, Red Bull is back. They're going to again start dominating. Just a brief hiatus with George and Lewis and, maybe Charles in Monaco, but sure. Orlando winning races. But yeah, we were like, oh, yeah, Max is back. Hungary is going to be back to schedule programming. It's a very hard track to overtake. The Red Bull is still fast, right? But what happens? Oh my God, what happens?
So
we are
we get a very dominant McLaren 1-2.
McLaren 1-2, the first 1-2 for McLaren after what? Monza 21?
Monza 2000, yeah, 21, correct.
When Dan Ricciardo won his last F1 race and Lando Norris came second.
Again.
Again, yes. So the first 1-2 for McLaren, and I mean, sure, Max finished P5, but even without his small racing incident with Lewis Hamilton, he was at best P3 if he, if he managed to make the move past Hamilton's stick cleanly, he was still at best P3. He had nothing in his car to challenge the McLarens. And guys, this was a weekend, right, Aniket, when Red Bull had the biggest upgrade of the season. Red Bull was very confident ahead of Hungary that this is going to be the biggest upgrade. It changed, the entire the rear body. I don't know what it's called, but the rear beyond the behind the drivers, that entire shape and everything they had changed. And Red was very confident. This upgrade is what delivers them both the titles, right? And it was a dud. You could just see it in Verstappen's frustrations throughout the race, right? The car is
Yeah.
beep, piece of beep, 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 beep.
I'm gonna be crafty here. I think it's because Verstappen was up at 3 a.m. playing eSIM, F1 eSIM. What is that game even called? Like F1 simulator? I don't know
I,
what's it called.
I
So
racing.
yeah, so that's what I'm gonna blame it on. I'm gonna blame it on Verstappen being up at late night and not focused on the race. That's the reason why he finished P5 and not P in the top three basically. But
Yeah, I think no, but I mean, like even if you didn't sleep at 3 a.m., that car was still coming P3. There's no way it was challenging the McLarens, right? We even saw
yeah,
it in qualifying, right? Lando went out in worse conditions and set a pole lap. Max came out much later, even after the red flag, and he couldn't do shit. Max was the car has been terrible all weekend. And now we go to
yeah,
Spa, the temple of speed. Oh, no, sorry, not temple of speed, that's Monza. But I mean, Spa is still a crazy fast track, and the McLarens look fast. I mean,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
the only
I agree.
at this point is DRS, right?
I think
I think
it's
only
more
at that
like
point.
if we just close the Hungary part of it before moving on to Spa, I would say that McLaren showed their pace like throughout the 3 days
Yeah,
of Hungary. Like they were fast right from the outset in FP1 and then carried it forward to the rest of the practice sessions. And then the qualifying we saw, Lando ahead of Oscar. In the race, obviously, I mean we're not going to into detail about the McLaren whole team order fiasco and that entire drama in itself. That probably requires a separate 10 or 15 minute episode on
yeah.
McLaren and
That's a
team
different
orders
podcast altogether.
because of how much they try to botch that entire situation. It's like they were teaching Lando not to finish first instead of just managing the situation in a better way, like say how a Mercedes team would do or how a Red
I
Bull
think
team would do.
I think the only
But
takeaway from that was that McLaren has hired Ferrari strategists.
I mean, they're not ready to win a championship yet, is what I believe, right?
Yeah,
Because if they were, firm in their stance of Lando being the lead driver and Oscar being the number two driver, then they could have decided accordingly based on that. Or they would have never done the undercut with Lando, and they would have held him out a lap longer and let Oscar pit first, and just played normally like how any probably the top teams would.
yeah, of
But they just bossed the entire situation. I mean, they did get their 1-2, but it was probably the saddest 1-2 in F1
course.
history, where I've never seen two drivers that sad after a race. But yeah, so McLaren had that entire thing going on. The car was obviously fast, and the car is going to be fast this entire rest of the season. But they got to act like a team that's wanting to win a championship, because the constructors trophy is like right there for grabs for them. So they can probably they can
Both
probably
drivers.
overtake Red Bull in the next couple of races. Say if Perez again does bad in the next race, and whoever Red Bull hires after the summer break is not up to speed immediately,
Yeah,
that's when McLaren can pounce based on the recent results. But if they
totally.
act like this, they cannot compete for a championship. So for McLaren side, they have to improve on those communication aspects. And obviously, you spoke about Red Bull. The upgrades they brought probably did not translate to them being more competitive compared to McLaren. So we'll see in Spa how it goes. Although in Spa, I do believe McLaren will have the fastest package again.
Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, and then if we can talk about the other two top teams, which is Mercedes and Ferrari. I mean, I would say they were the third and fourth
Hey,
best team.
sorry, Ankit, just to interrupt you there. I'm a Ferrari fan, but in which universe is Ferrari a top team now?
Top four teams. I mean, the rounding up the rest of the top four. So I mean,
It's
probably the
like one,
fourth
two.
best team right now.
Right now, it's like one, two, three, and then four, and then 5 to 10.
See, I need to sympathize with Ferrari because that's going to be my team next season. So I want to try to give them props for what they do. Although they're not doing anything right now, but still. I'm going to keep them as a top top team because I want to cheer for them next season, like with you as well. But yeah, um so Mercedes Lewis P3 again a good race from him. I don't think the car was anywhere close to McLaren or even Red Bull this race, but Lewis still put it out. And obviously that collision with Max, which was I would say 110% Max's fault. And while some people may still disagree with that, I mean you can just watch the replays for yourself as to what
Thing is,
happens.
I think, I mean, sure, Max in Austria was, probably his crazy driving, but I mean, to be fair, he had a lockup here, right? He was on DRS and he tried to brake it and had a lockup, right? It's not like he
No, I
rammed
mean
into.
he did not ram, but he still he knew he was not going to make that corner, but he still went for the move, and he carried so much more extra speed than what you
Yeah,
should
yeah.
carry when you're trying to
I
brake
think
for
the
that
DRS
corner.
they should have probably braked a little earlier.
He could have easily ruined both of their races. He could have ruined his
Right.
own race, and that would have cost him a lot of points in the drivers' championship, which is yeah, the gap is coming down every race. We're going to keep a watch on that, in the next few races and see if he can lower it down even more. But so Max very easily lost out big time in that case. Apart from that, I think Ferrari, George Russell, good stuff from him coming up from P17 to P8, I think, and the fastest lap. So he salvaged something from the weekend. And Ferrari's like Charles obviously pounced on the Lewis Hamilton Verstappen incident, finishing P4, and yeah, and then Sainz obviously had a very
So
quiet race
Ferrari was
in
what?
P6.
4 and 6.
Yeah. Oh, we had Mercedes territory. We had Mercedes from first few races of the season.
And Red Bull was 5 and 7.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's for the top four teams. I think apart from that, the rest of the is there any notable standings related information from Hungary, or can we move on to a quick preview of
Uh,
Belgium?
yeah, I think the only other notable thing was Yuki Tsunoda dragged that shitbox to ninth, and
Yeah.
Stroll was ahead of Alonso, which was again team orders. And Alonso couldn't say anything because it's the bloody owner's son over there. But yeah, I think apart from that, yeah, nothing really remarkable in the results.
Mm.
But yeah, I think the only thing about this drivers' championship race, I think for McLaren, like you said, I mean, obviously the constructors' title is very much within within grasp for McLaren. With, I mean, Checo, he'll probably crash the next race again in Belgium, probably go into the wall of Eau Rouge. Uh, and they'll probably, if they get Dan Ricciardo, they're going to have the same thing again for 11 more, 10 more races. But I think the thing is that for McLaren, it's not just constructors, but even the driver's title that, can be in within reach, right? So if you just look at the gap between, Lando and Max, it is right now, I think, what, 76 points, right? Max is on 265 and Lando's on 189, so 76 points. And you have 11 races remaining, right? Now, just to drive the point home to say why it's in within graph, let's ignore, sprint races and fastest laps and all of that. Uh, I know Lando's only won a single race now, but the McLaren is fast, and obviously, if it's getting closer, McLaren is not going to continue to favor Oscar. So imagine for the 11 remaining races from Spa to Abu Dhabi, McLaren continues his pace, and Lando wins all of them. And let's say Max managed to beat Oscar and Hamilton, and compete in all races. Even then, it's obviously a very contrived scenario, but even then, Lando wins the title by a point, right? That's how close the championship is at this point.
Mm.
And if the same thing happens in three remaining sprints, then he wins by 4 points, right? That's how close the championship at this point. And this point with Verstappen, I mean, even though, I mean, I'm a fan of Verstappen, like a fan of Lewis, right? I just think that he's, one of the best drivers on the grid after Lewis. But, just that, again, we all know what kind of driver Max is, right? He's pushing the limits all the time. And especially now, Max is under a lot of pressure with a Red Bull that is not as fast. So it feels like, if Red Bull don't manage to improve their car, right? It feels like it's only a matter of time before we see a Max DNF, right? Probably goes bowling into turn one and takes out half the field like Bottas did those years ago, right? Hey, Bottas, keep the Red Bulls behind you. Sure, I'll take both of them out the race. So I think that is inevitable, especially with Max Tempest, flaring on Red Bull on his own team, right? I think Toto is secretly very happy. I think the Vegas odds for Max going to Mercedes have improved significantly right now, and
With
that's
all the
why.
friction comes more Mercedes Verstappen to Mercedes rumors.
Yeah, and that's why Toto is not announcing Kimi Antonelli. He's like, "Yo, bro, just wait. We'll maybe put you in Williams. Just wait a minute." But yeah, so the thing is, because the championship is so close, and if you have a Max DNF and a Lando P1, P2, P3, the race is blown open at this point. I mean, full props to McLaren. They started the season way behind, and they've come. They're at the front. They've overtaken Mercedes, they've overtaken
Yeah,
Ferrari, they've overtaken Red Bull, they're overtaking everybody now.
and I
The
think
season
that's
is back. Then. Yes.
I think that's a perfect segue to the next race in Belgium, where if McLaren, keep the momentum up and they could make, I mean, they can be on the pace. They have the fastest package as of now. They've shown it across different tracks. And I believe that they could be the fastest team in Spa as well. I really do. They have the best, probably the best engine in F1.
Yeah,
I think Mercedes' engine is again, I mean, it's probably the best engine again after the couple of bad seasons. And they have a very good aerodynamic package as well now, which is good on slow and a medium to fast paced track. So I believe McLaren could have the fastest package again. Let's not rule out Max because he's going to come out there for vengeance after what happened in Hungary. So it's going to be again nip and a tuck between the top three. I would say the top two McLaren drivers and then Max. And then let's see if anyone else can spring a surprise, like say a Lewis or some of the Ferrari guys. And
yeah,
I don't know if George Russell gets a surprise P1, then I think all of us should stop watching F1 because George is not that good. Sorry, George, but yeah, I mean, I'm just kidding. I mean, if George gets P1, then he'll obviously have done a good job. But let's see if we can, let's see if we can get a good grid shake up again for an exciting race.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Spa is such a and we also have rumors that Verstappen could be taking a 10-second, sorry, what I'm saying, 10 grid place penalty for
yeah, yeah.
an IC change. So
I think
let's
it's
watch out for
mostly
that space.
confirmed at this point. Um,
It's not confirmed, but I've Craig Slater from Sky just
yeah,
had a report the other day where there are indications that Verstappen could take that penalty in Spa, considering how I would say how favorable it is for overtaking, and he could actually make up a lot of places. if he does
Correct.
that. So
I mean, Red Bull still has a DRS advantage, so if they can actually get a better engine, it's good for them.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he was going to take a penalty in these upcoming races, so I think Spa is probably the best
Right.
one of the races which we have in the last few. So yeah, if he does that, then McLaren have to take advantage of the situation. They have to put both cars in the top two or in the top three at worst. So let's watch out for the space. See, yeah, I mean, I think if Verstappen does take his penalty, then definitely we'll come out here with a quick, like a breaking news kind of a segment, and update our fans with that. But let's watch out for that. Let's see how the other teams do. I think FP1, FP2 will be critical. It's not a sprint, right? So I think it'll be a normal. Uh,
No, I don't believe it's a sprint, just a
yeah.
standard effort. Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank. I mean, so always good to go back and watch any Spa race live. So I think F1 on the YouTube channel put up a few highlights from 2004 and 2008, which I've been binging on the last couple of hours in preparation for this race. So I
Spa,
just hope we
Spa is
get
one of the
races as exciting as those.
Spa is one of the goated tracks of F1. Like all the great F1 drivers, Lewis probably like Silverstone more, but
Yeah.
Lewis, Schumacher, Senna, all of them love Spa. One of the greatest tracks in F1. Also the longest track I think in the calendar at 7 kilometers.
Yeah, I think an average lap is around 1 minute 40 seconds. And back in the day, it used to be 1 minute 50 seconds or something along those lines. So,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
the lap record is held by Valtteri Bottas. It's 1 minute 46. So probably seeing you on
Yeah,
1 minute 50 probably.
exactly. So,
How
yeah, I
about
think
last?
uh, I think Belgium is going to be fun. I mean, Belgium always has mixed conditions as well. We've seen a lot of these in the past few years. So I'm not sure what the weather forecast is for those 3 days. So if it's mixed conditions, so it's all the merrier for the fans watching. We're going to get even more excitement. So yeah, as of now, I have myself not seen the weather forecast. Maybe some of you all in the comments can put that up, or Pratyush can just quickly search and see if there's any forecast up out for the next few days in Spa. Otherwise, apart from that, if it's a dry race, we're still gonna get a good one considering what we've had in the past few races.
So
So
for Spa, there is rain predicted on Saturday during qualifying actually. So it might
yeah,
be a wet qualifying. But Sunday is dry, as of now at least.
so wet qualifying is a perfect opportunity for the others to take an advantage of any situation.
Oh my God, we're going to
So
see two laps, man. That track is long.
wet track, wet track, and Perez driving. So what can you think of the
Oh
crutch?
wow. How many red flags are we going to see? Yeah, man, we do need a chaotic race, man. Oh yeah, by the way, to the viewers, quick reminder to guess which engine is in the McLaren. But
And also, if you've come this far, subscribe to the channel. We're getting close to our first goal of 500 subscribers on this channel.
yeah,
We have worked hard for it, so just smash the subscribe button
guys,
and
tell
tell
all
all
your
your friends
friends.
to do it.
We do F1, we do cricket, we do basketball, we do soccer, we do a whole bunch of sports here.
We are a sports junkie,
Yeah,
forum at on this channel. So if you're into the into different kind of sports, if you're going to be watching the Olympics, we're going to get some previews out soon for that as well. So just stay tuned on
yep,
this channel.
yep. So yeah, I think yeah, Spa. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great weekend. Red Bull. I mean, they probably can't put an upgrade out. Maybe we'll see them. Maybe revert like Ferrari to a previous package, which was working well for them. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where FP1 and FP2 land us. I think even Fridays probably will be wet. So man, if we have a wet Friday and a wet Saturday, teams will have no data for Sunday, which is going to be bone dry. It's going to be chaos, and I want a chaotic Spa, man. We're having too many races, with 20 drivers finishing or just one driver retiring before he will retire, right? Oh, Pierre Gasly, your car is looking to be off. Just come back in the pits, please. Like, what the heck, man? Where's my engine blowouts? Where's my red flags? Damn it! Where's my F1?
Yeah, let's hope we get
Yeah.
some of it in this
Where's
Grand Prix.
my Valtteri Bottas going bowling into turn one and taking half the field out?
Oh, we saw that in 1998 when David Coulthard did that and took out the entire field. If you guys are new into F1, go check out the 1998
Oh yeah.
Belgian Grand Prix highlights where David Coulthard causes a chaos, and I think 18 drivers just crash out initially. Obviously, at that time they had spare cars, so they could just jump
Yeah.
onto the spare car and get that up and running. So yeah.
Imagine if that happened today. 18 cars go out. Remember that Hungary from a few years back when just Lewis is the only guy starting? We'll have just two guys at the front starting.
Yep.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's Hungary and Belgium for you. The season is cracked open, and I think 2024. Um, I mean, it's yet to be seen if it will achieve 2021 status, but I think it's going to be a pretty exciting season. Hey, Anike, that reminds me. Maybe because Red Bull is weak now, maybe we'll actually see Max win Singapore this year.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that could be a track where they're actually strong at. But yeah,
Yeah.
still have some time for Singapore. We'll see how the races are. I mean, Singapore could be an interesting race. The championship could be very close by
Oh,
that time. So that could be a
yeah.
pivotal race in the championship.
Or maybe we see Max get so frustrated by that point, he just goes bowling into turn one, takes Lando, Oscar, and George Russell out along with himself. And then, yeah, from out of
Uh,
nowhere, with the Singapore GP again.
yep.
But yeah, moving on to the other exciting developments of the paddock, right? Yeah, I mean, the F1 drama continues off the paddock like always, right? Irrespective of what's happening on track. And should we get in the Alpine news?
I think we should get into the Audi news first before we get in the Alpine news.
Oh, yes, Audi, of course. All right, guys. Now, I know all of you know the Espinala meme from 2018 or 2019, whenever that thing came about. But basically, Vettel spun in Germany, gave up his dreams of a fifth title in that race. Uh, and the meme of Espinala was born with Mattia Binotto. Well, we're getting a new version. We're getting Espinala V2. It's going to be Espinodi.
Nice one. That's a nice segue into who we are referring to.
Yep, it's
As
Mattia Binotto going to take over as the Audi team principal from 2025, right?
2025, no, 2026, right? Because that's when they're becoming Audi.
But I thought he's taking on next year. But yeah, well, 25, 26, I'll quickly check. But yeah,
And
Binotto is.
I think it's a CTO role, so I'm not sure if he's actually coming in as a team principal as well. So
Oh,
I think that's a little unclear at this stage, but definitely he's going to oversee all the engineering and the technical side of the new car
right.
with Audi coming in. Audi is trusting him. They initially had hired Andreas Seidel for this, and surprisingly they let him go for in
Yeah.
favor
I mean,
of Matteo Binotto.
yes. Okay. So Binotto is going to be chief operating and chief technical officer. So he's not
Yeah,
going to be team principal. I think that will work out for him, right? Because when Binotto was team principal at Ferrari, Ferrari had very good cars, right? Remember 2018, 2017, where they're very strong. Obviously, their strategy as usual let them down, but they had very
yeah,
good
and
cars.
and the whole under the table FIA deal with the engine. We never knew what
That was,
happened with that.
that was 2019. But yeah, I think. Oh yeah, so Binotto is not team principal, and well, Andrea Serra was supposed to be the CEO, and he's leaving. Oh, dude, Binotto is not 2026. He's going to take on August 1st.
Oh, as in right now?
Yep. He's
Oh
going to
wow.
assume the operation August 1st as Chief Operating and Chief Technical Officer based at the Sauber factory in Switzerland and will report directly to the
Oh
board of
wow.
directors.
So he's
Yeah,
going to
this
be
is right.
overseeing the car next year and the year, obviously 2026 as well. But that's a big
Yeah.
development. So that means Sauber
2026
are
called this point, right?
Sauber are looking at something for 2025 as a stepping stone because they've
Yep.
obviously been terrible this year. So they've not
Right.
scored a point I think in the 13 races. So
I
they
don't think so.
started off very strong in 2022. I remember they got a good hang of the new ground effect rules,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
I think they scored like a good chunk of points in the first few races.
Right.
But since then, it's been a completely downward trajectory. for the entire team. And even with the name change that they've had this season, things have not improved.
Yeah, so
So
they were sixth in 2022. Um,
yeah,
and then 2023 they were still ninth. I mean, half was behind them. But this year they're dead last. And yeah, they're the only team without that haven't scored a point yet.
yep.
Every other team scored points this season at the halfway mark. So yeah,
And they have not come close to getting points. I think Bottas has finished 11th or 12th on a few occasions, but that's because
yeah,
few other cars were out of the race.
right.
So that's an interesting development. We'll see how Matteo Binotto comes into the team, and I mean, obviously his imprints will not be on this year's car. Maybe we see it at the next year's car, and see if Sauber makes a step up. For I mean, initially they have to focus on who their drivers are going to be for 25. We don't have any such news on the drivers, correct? If I'm to
No,
believe,
no,
we don't have any
just
confirmation.
no, just the Hulk at this point.
Yeah.
And we know Bottas is leaving, and
So I know we know that they're still waiting for Carlos Sainz, or I don't know who else
right.
is waiting for Carlos Sainz because he seems to
I
be
think
making.
yeah, I think Bottas is definitely not. I mean, it's not confirmed that Bottas or Joe is leaving, but it increasingly seems that Bottas is done with the team
Yeah,
and he wants a fresh start. Joe, yeah, I don't see Joe staying if Hulkenberg is the driver, and with all these ambitions, and I mean, Joe is not even beating Bottas, so they're not keeping Bottas. They're probably not keeping Joe either.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, Carlos Sainz. Yeah, let's talk about that. With all the Max Verstappen hangama that's going on, um, yeah, let's talk about this love triangle between Carlos Ferrari and no, sorry, Carlos Mercedes and Red Bull, right? Um, so Verstappen, if he's increasingly dissatisfied with Red Bull, right? Now already Newey is leaving the team, right? So obviously that's one support for Max is gone, and Joss can't stand Horner. So if you have who's the other guy? Helmut Marko, yeah. If he
Yeah.
somehow leaves Red Bull too, I mean, or Toto, if Toto finally, I think it right now it's very possible that Toto gets Verstappen to replace Lewis Hamilton. And if that happens, Carlos Sainz is probably the favorite to sign the Red Bull. And I think that's why Sainz is not deciding on his future.
For me, I think it's still very unlikely that Verstappen joins Mercedes at least for next year, because uh, he's made it very clear that he will stay with Red Bull, for the long term. So we've seen no indication that he's inclined towards move. But as we saw in Hungary, right? As long,
And
I
Lewis
mean,
wanted to retire at Mercedes, but
Lewis wanted to retire Mercedes, but I would say that there have been talks with Ferrari. At least we got a lot of rumors of that. But
right.
on the Verstappen front, we have not got any such rumors that Verstappen has been at talks or something. Or
Yeah.
the problem with this move, I would think, is firstly Verstappen's inclination to go to Mercedes when he still has a very good chance of winning his next two titles with Red Bull. So why would he want to leave that opportunity? The only way I can see it is the disagreements which we saw in Hungary rising and rising based on, say, McLaren winning two or three races in the next, and Red Bull again blundering. So as Delvin has commented, I think Science sits out a year and races for Audi. That could very well be a possibility where Science sits out next year in case he does not find any good opportunity. I think we already spoke about that earlier when Carlos Sainz initially left Ferrari and could not find a drive for the next 2 months or did not finalize a drive. So I would think this could happen, but it's still unlikely. It's still unlikely that a driver of Carlos Sainz caliber just sits out an entire year, thinking that he's going to have an opportunity at Audi in 26 when in Formula One things never seem certain.
Yeah, but I mean, if he wants to go to Audi, he can just sign next year too, right? I mean, Audi is also kind of waiting for him. I think to me it just feels that he's waiting for that Mercedes or Red Bull seat to materialize. Right? I mean, obviously, Sainz is not going to Red Bull if Max is still there, right? Because they can't stand each other. I think more than Sainz, I think Max doesn't want Carlos next to him. But Yeah, I think if Max goes to Mercedes, right? I mean, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, right? Obviously, it's all speculation. But with the amount of sucking up Toto's doing with Max in public, uh, and the fact that Max's position is becoming more and more untenable inside Red Bull, right? New Year's left. There's a civil war between Helmut Marko and Christian Horner because of all the sexual abuse allegations and all that. And Verstappen really, really, really respects Helmut Marko, right? So if tomorrow Marco wakes up and chooses violence and says, "Let's leave Red Bull," he's leaving with Marco. No, no, no two questions asked, right? Because even Jos Verstappen hates Christian Horner. So yeah,
Yeah.
if tomorrow wakes up and says we're leaving Red Bull, Max is leaving Red Bull. Not He's not asking a second question at all. New is already left. He has no reason to stay at Red Bull anymore.
Yeah, and that's why Toto is definitely holding up till the last possible minute which he can, till he gets like a clear no
Yeah,
from Verstappen's camp
exactly.
for next year and the year beyond. Because obviously Kimi Antonelli is not coming in as a 1 year guy. He's gonna come in and sign a 3 or 4 year deal with Mercedes. So
Yeah,
let's watch the space over the summer break. I think Mercedes would want
yeah,
to confirm the drivers pretty soon.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think
I,
they would want to wait and keep waiting for Verstappen.
no,
Uh,
agreed. But I think something has definitely changed because if you look at in May, Toto was very confident that Kimi is going to be driving the second Mercedes, right? Like news outlets are reporting as if it was confirmed that Kimi Antonelli is going to race the second car. But then and also Red Bull didn't have much of domestic strife at that point, right? They were kind of settled down. But then McLaren started winning races, Mercedes started winning races. Charles gave up his entire career to win Monaco, and and then you saw that Max is shouting at GP on the radio publicly, and I think suddenly Toto is like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is back on the menu, boys."
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also,
if he gets Verstappen,
Kimi, Kimi Antonelli is not exactly lighting the world on fire in F2. Um, he's kind of struggling for results. Ollie Behrman is doing much better, I think. I'm not
yeah,
sure. I
but
haven't seen.
I don't think the F2 results matter this much or matter as much as they used to during the early
Oh, yeah.
2000s or late 2000s. I
Yeah,
think
also
now
the
it's,
car I think this year is crap. Prema, I think, doesn't have a good car this year.
yeah, I think it's more on how they do in the official F1 testing sessions which they have. So I
Right.
think that's how they're getting judged, at least for Oliver Behrman and Kimi Antonelli's case.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Delvin, I mean, he might go to the India Lima, but I mean, we never know. Alonso, well, he actually retired from F1. Like, it was not like he took a break and went racing in Lima, right? Alonso, like, I mean, Ferrari broke him so bad that he was like, I'm done with F1.
But I mean, he did the Indy 500 when he was a McLaren driver. I think he got permission for that, to compete for that. He was going to try to compete for the Triple Crown, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, he tried to do that, but obviously after the McLaren thing, he did unofficially retire. It's just that he got he got a very good opportunity to come back with Alpine, who
Yeah, yeah,
who obviously was his first good team with Renault back in early 2000s. So yeah,
right.
I think Alonso was probably 35 or something when the Alpine deal was signed. So Carlos still has a lot of years ahead of him. So I don't think he wants to sit out and go and
Yeah,
race in a Le Mans or a NASCAR or something. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for that. So
yeah.
I think that's with Carlos and that's with the whole Sauber situation. And I think we have a couple more topics to hit in this show today, right?
Yeah, we have what Esteban Ocon following Nico Hulkenberg like a doggy, and
Yeah,
but
I don't know if
the
you have that. If you have that screenshot of the teams where Hulkenberg has left and Ocon has followed him to
oh
replace
yeah, yeah,
him.
yeah. I think you sent me on Twitter or somewhere, but yeah, yeah. That was
If you
really
want to
funny
bring it
though.
up to the people watching, so maybe we can just tell them what we are saying when you said.
Oh, yeah, here it is. I found it. I found it. Uh, hold on. So it's basically is what I'm going to be bringing up on the stage.
Yeah, but the news obviously here is Esteban Ocon signing with
Yeah,
Haas for next season.
Yep.
And there is the reference, or there is
There is
the
a,
picture which
yep.
Satish was referring to.
Hulkenberg leaves Force India 2016. 2017, guess who joins Force India? 2019, Hulkenberg leaves Renault. Guess who joins Renault in 2020? 2024, Hulkenberg leaves Haas. Guess who joins Haas in 2025?
It's
Oh
crazy
my
how these
God.
things work out. I have no idea why this keeps happening, but it happened
And
again.
oh, look at these comments, man. Next one, Hulkenberg leaves audio retires. Oh, God. I love this. VM design says RIP. I mean, imagine Ollie Behrman goes faster than Ocon next season, and then Ocon is like, poink.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it's interesting though. I think Ocon was still like, is still a very capable driver in F1. So he was definitely not going to be without a seat. So I would say it's more like he was just seeing which team was available, and I guess he just jumped at the opportunity with Haas, considering they had a opening at that team, and probably Ocon was not getting a drive with any of the top teams. So
yeah.
yeah, next the probably the I would say the one of the other midfield teams which he could have joined.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Williams didn't want him.
I think Williams definitely are holding out for Carlos Sainz like a few other teams. So
Right.
they wanted to keep their option open. I think if not Carlos Sainz, they will go for probably for Valtteri Bottas to rejoin the team, is what I'm guessing. So probably Williams are holding out for a couple of those options and didn't want to take on Ocon as well, along with Alex Albon. So probably that's what they're waiting for. But good for Ocon. I think he deserves a seat in F1. He's a
Yeah, I
good
think he
driver.
definitely deserves a seat. But yeah, it's just sad to see that he was one of the guys who had a great future. Managed by Toto Wolff. Um, he used to be called as Lewis's successor at Mercedes, right? And now we see him join a Ferrari B team. Uh,
He's won a race in F1,
yeah, he's on a race in F1. Fair enough.
and yeah, it's
Yeah, I think just that
it's
there
funny
was
how
that.
your F1 career pans out.
Right. Yeah. I think part of the blame also it's on Alpine, right? He joined Alpine because Alpine had this whole project aired, which was planned out, but then they have just been
And then they
fumbling.
sign. I think the Pierre Gasly signing definitely added kind of like
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was.
definitely
I don't know
added some spice to
what they
that
think.
relationship.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking by signing Pierre Gasly when those two have historically been at loggerheads,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I get it that they went for the all French driver combination, but Aniket, what is with France and French teams, man? Like, okay, the Battle of France in during World War II was fought when Germany was invading France, right? And
The
Germany did
Dunkirk.
such Germany did such a blitzkrieg campaign on France that in 6 weeks France surrendered and Germany took control of France, and that lasted till the end of the war, almost the end of the war till the Normandy landings happened, and Britain kind of bailed their asses out. But what same thing's happening in F1 now. A French team, Alpine Renault, right? Renault, the one of the biggest teams, the biggest automakers of France. It's the pride of France, right? The pride of France, biggest automaker in France. They have an F1 team. There was storied history in F1, right? I don't know, it existed from a long, long time. They were even the engine suppliers for one of the Lotus teams when Lotus entered F1. So Renault has, such a massive history in F1, right? Fernando Alonso won 2 titles with them, despite being the underdog. And suddenly, the past few years, they're just fumbling. I think I know Alpine fans will call me out and say, you're just being dramatic. But come on, your team has signed a contract with Mercedes to be the engine supplier, man. You guys are surrendering to Germany again. You didn't learn your lessons, did you?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? How things change in F1 as we were just keep speaking on the driver market, and again with these kind of situations. So I think for the people who are watching, So we've had rumors in the paddock, in up and down in the paddock, and a lot of reporters or also credential reporters also commenting on it that Alpine are in talks with Mercedes for an engine supply, a gearbox, and I think some other components like a deal for those specifications from 2026, or it could be even earlier in 2025 onwards. So Alpine is giving up on their work status and planning to become a customer Mercedes team. So
Yeah.
obviously, that is a little disappointing because Alpine and, as Pratyush said, Renault more specifically have been in F1 for a long time and have been a works team for a long time. They've won two titles in the early 2000s with Fernando Alonso, and they've had competitive seasons with as being Lotus, with Kimi Raikkonen in that team with Romain Grosjean, and
And I forgot, it's not just the two titles in 2000, 5 and 6. Renault used to be called before 2001 the Benetton Formula One team, and Michael Schumacher won
exactly.
two titles, right?
So they've had a long history in F1 producing very
Yeah.
good championship engines, and they've had so many competitive seasons in the last 20 years. So, and since their Alpine, basically the Alpine, I would say, nomenclature, which they now go about with, or in F1,
Yeah.
they've not been the
Actually, a
best.
supercar brand, so
So they've not been at their best in these last, 6 or 7 seasons. They've had a few good seasons here and there in the hybrid era, but apart from that, since turning from Lotus to Alpine or renaming their brand as from Lotus to Alpine, they've not had the best season in F1. And this season has obviously started out in their worst possible situation where they finished last in the opening races. They were nowhere close to anybody in the pack. They developed a very bad car. It's just now when things seem to develop a little bit, more, and they're
mm,
capable of capable of getting into the points in some of these last races. But it's been a trying time for the team, and I think it's reached a state where they believe, or the parent company now believes that they can no longer invest in F1, and they can no longer produce the engines which are as competitive as the other engines in F1, say Williams, say Mercedes, Ferrari, Honda. And
yeah,
yeah, I think they've reached a state where they don't want to invest anymore and they just want to become a customer team. They think that the Mercedes route is now going to be the better route, say in the long run, compared to what they will be doing on their own. So I would say it's a coward way of giving up on their entire F1 history that's been going
yeah.
on so long. And that's,
Yeah,
you know,
and I made a mistake earlier. I mean, they bought Benetton, so I mean, the history is counted as part of Renault, but I mean, they were supplying some other team. Benetton was a Ford customer at that point. But yeah, I mean, the point is, Renault was been in F1 for a long time, right? Before they even bought Benetton, they were supplying, I think, Williams. They used to supply
yeah.
Williams engines
They
before
were
Williams.
championship with Williams as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it's sad that Alpine decided to go this way.
I mean,
Um,
it's not confirmed, but let's
Not
it
confirmed.
looks like it could happen. A very good chance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much the entire F1 media is reporting on it at this point. So yeah, it just very sad if it eventually happens. I mean, Renault has made good engines in the past, right? It's not that. Come on, Sauber exists, and they've been a crap team for their entire history. Uh,
Yeah, I
sure.
understand. I mean, but they've been using Ferrari engines, correct, in the last few years.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just saying that. I mean, Renault had good engines in the past, right? It's
They
only
did.
like
They did. They were.
the
I
last.
mean, they've supplied Red Bull with four straight constructors and drivers championships.
Yeah, yeah. Renault have been a pretty good engine supplier, right? I mean, it's probably, I mean, like this year the struggles are not just because of the engine, right? The car was overweight initially, the aero has been shit. So I don't see how buying Mercedes engines are going to help if the aero is shit. Ask Mercedes. Uh,
But I think it's sad that F1 is losing, or probably going to lose another work stream. So it's becoming a
yeah,
very much customer oriented sport in terms of buying engines and then banking on your aero and your engine combination. So I think at the end of 2024, we might just be left with Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari. That's it, I think, who are going to be making their own engines.
yeah, that's it.
And
Red Bull.
Honda obviously will be in 2026 onwards, but that's going to be just four
Yeah,
teams, and they're going to be like 10 teams. So basically, you have six customer teams.
yep. Yeah, it's not a good thing for F1. I mean, we used to have much more engine suppliers, right? We had
We had
We used to,
Cosworth, Renault,
yeah, I
uh,
remember we had
Honda,
we had Ferrari,
Mercedes,
we had Mercedes, we had Honda, we had Cosworth, we had
BMW.
BMW. Five. That's yeah. There's my hand. That's five teams. That's five
Yeah,
suppliers, right? And now we are going to be next season down to three, maybe four if Honda comes in. But I don't know when the Honda deal is starting. But
that's starting in 2026. But yeah, next season could be three.
yeah, next season will be three, and that's man. That's yeah. I mean, it's always good to have more engine supplies, right? That's a variety on the track. Like
Yeah,
I also want us to have a second tire supplier, but I think F1 won't allow that at this point.
yeah, for sure because the cost situation and stuff. But
Yeah,
I
but
mean, there were rumors that Bridgestone could return once the Pirelli deal runs out. So maybe
oh
that
wow.
happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, talking about rumors, there's another rumor that has suddenly come up in the last week, and it's that Toyota is planning a return to F1
Oh, okay.
as a works team this time.
They were a works team when they were first in F1 also. But
Nah,
like yeah.
I I think they're at Cosworth engines.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe they were works team or maybe they had Cosworth. But I think they did try a season with their works engines itself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure. I thought it was a Cosworth engines, but yeah, I
No,
mean,
they had their own engines and they supplied Williams for a season, I believe, with their engines. So
yeah, yeah. Oh no, they supplied Jordan. Yeah, yeah, and
okay.
Williams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think okay, yeah, sure. I think they did use their own engines, but yeah, I think oh, okay, sorry. The problem was, yeah, sorry, they were a works team before as well, but I think the problem was that um,
No, the
the team
reason they
very
quit F1 was the whole 2008 financial crisis. That's the reason
right,
they
right.
quit F1.
No,
And
but
they've never been back since.
they're also never successful. I think it's because you know the base was in Germany, but also being controlled from Japan and
Japan.
time zone
Yeah.
that caused a lot of challenge. But yeah, sorry, they were a works team. They didn't have Cosworth engines. Yeah, they had their own
Yeah.
engines. Yeah, it seems that they
So
want to again.
that means in those seasons we had six works teams.
Yep, yeah. And now it seems that they
Yeah.
want to set up a full-fledged team again, possibly. Yeah, they're saying there might be more autonomy compared to the previous time. More autonomy, maybe a German or a British base this time. And yeah, it's going to be exciting if Toyota comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see what
Panasonic, Toyota,
happens.
are the classic F1 teams.
Very good livery, car livery as well. It's a simple, red and white or maroon and white livery, which is
Yep, yep.
fabulous.
And yeah, they also used to be in the WRC, and guess who won a driver's title with them in WRC?
Who was it?
Carlos Sainz Sr.
Oh, I was just gonna, guess that name, but yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun if Toyota comes back. But yeah, I think, yeah, we need more teams, man. Come on, get Andretti in, get the GM engines in, get the Eagles in.
By the way, on the Toyota news, I'm just reading that they could be in a partnership with Haas in 2025. So that's the rumors. So
Oh, wow.
they'll not come as a works team, but they'll probably be supplying engines to Haas from 2025. But I think that's a
Oh,
long
okay.
way to go. So that's the
Yeah, yeah.
rumors coming from.
25 probably too soon to make engines. So maybe just a sponsor first and then kind of build out, right?
Yep. Then eventually
Yeah,
probably take over Haas. Who knows?
right. Yeah, I think Gnas is done with the sport, man. I think Gunther broke him. Okay, not to blame
Yeah.
Gunther. Gnas is a very stingy man. He's what do you call who's that? Who's that Tottenham guy? Daniel Levy. He's a Daniel Levy
Daniel
person.
Levy. Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's what it. There's Aniket, there is. But yeah, I
Yep.
think Spa is going to be exciting. It's also going to be a lap. It's yeah, I mean 1 minute
It's
46.
gonna be an eternity till we find out who's on pole in those
Oh yeah,
last couple of seconds of Q3.
oh yeah. Like dude, imagine a guy crosses the start finish line at what 1 second before the checkout flag, and you're still waiting 2 minutes later. Oh, where is he?
Yep. And teams definitely cannot risk, missing out on laps because of track. What do you say? track penalties and stuff. So because of how
Yeah,
long the lap is, so they definitely have to get on these laps quickly and get it
yeah,
done.
yep. Yeah, they can't waste too much time in the pit lane trying to
Yep,
put a gap. Right? Also, I think it's going to be. I think also this is a race with the shortest number of laps, it's just 44 because the freaking track is so long.
yep. I mean,
But yeah,
at the cooldown lap after the race, they don't go around the track. They just stop after the finish line because it's that long. They don't F1. I mean, the guy that F1 has like don't go around again.
oh wait, really? I didn't know that they just stopped there.
Yeah, they just stop
Oh,
and just take a turn and stop there.
oh, okay, yeah, wow. Yeah, that I mean, if you look at the original Spa track, it's much longer. The F1 track is a very shortened version of it, and I think in the 50 or 60 they did use the entire.
Yeah.
Um,
The forested area and stuff.
yeah. I think the track still exists. I think for F1 they don't use it because F1 has no limits and all that.
Yep.
Similar to how Nürburgring uses a shortened 6 kilometer circuit. But yeah, Nürburgring is part of these massive tracks. I mean, Nürburgring used to
Yeah.
have that full track in F1 before, and they had like I think 20 laps or something, and the guy just going on like 7 8 minutes in a lap. The slow
Exactly.
cars are super long laps, like 20 kilometers over.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, guys. Fasten your seatbelts, drive safe, and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you after Belgium.
Yep. See you all.
But yeah, maybe if qualifying throws up a few surprises, we'll catch you right that day, right? I don't
Definitely,
know.
as we always
Yes,
try to do.
if Logan Sargent gets poor, you're definitely going to be right here.
I think we'll do a 2 hour live session if Logan
Oh
Sargent
yeah,
gets killed.
just
We'll
playing
probably
Eagle music.
keep chanting Logan Sargent for 2 hours
Yeah, just playing Eagle music in the background. Just Eagle screeches.
and play the American national anthem and respect
Yeah.
the American.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yep.